Blasphemy. Freebird. Coming to you now quite live from Pineda Studios, a Bad Records production. I'm Sascha Saintevic. With me is Briano Hawk. Briano, are you ready for some glam rock?
Yeah.
We teased this one. We teased this in the last episode, so we might as well just get it out of the way.
Oh yeah.
Like the great influence of glam that's been going on. Now there are two schools of glam rock.
Yes, there is.
Someone was listening to like actually there's like six or whatever. There are two main ones that we're going to talk about.
Let's get into a little bit of the history of glam real quick.
Okay, go for
because of the fact that most people think of glam and they're thinking the 80s hair bands.
That's what we're going to shit on.
That is what we're going to go after, yes. But I do have to say that I just recently watched a quick little documentary on glam, and they actually brought up a point which I didn't even think of. Glam kind of actually dates back to like the dandies, like dandies being like in the 1800s and things like that, to where they would do they would dress up a lot more. They would do the wigs and the facial stuff, makeup, things like that. And so, I mean, if you think about it, it is true. I mean, you can kind of trace glam all the way back to that, because a lot of the people will say that glam is associated with like David Bowie.
Mm-hmm. Ziggy Stardust.
Ziggy Stardust and stuff. But David Bowie actually kind of picked it up from some of the Renaissance stuff in the 1800s and so on and so forth, where they actually the dandy. I just wanted to bring that up as a quick little history on that.
Well, I have a thought on that. Here's the thing: we need to be careful when say like when something comes from, because
it comes from
the thing of like androgynous subcultures or something date back to. I mean, you'll find pockets full of them, like the dandies. More recently during the 18th century, they were a big influence as far as like when David Bowie developed the look. A lot of science fiction as well was also a big influence for the whole Ziggy Stardust persona. I mean, you'll find going back way back, like you'll find those same sort of androgynous elements when you look at the eunuchs of the Sultan's court. And things like that. As far as like when people don't think of like glam rock itself, like the dandies weren't performing.
They weren't. I mean, it's more
like the imagery. It had an influence.
That's actually what I was trying to say. It's the dandies. The look came from that. It's more of a feminine type of look. And it was done intentionally to make you uncomfortable. It's actually a mindset. Not really in the sense to make you uncomfortable, but it was a mindset.
Social norm boundaries.
Those who were dandies were very flamboyant and feminine looking, and they're out there that was their job in a sense. And so just like I said, just a quick history on it. I mean, yes, there's other things that it can come from or did come from, and other aspects, like you're stating, like science fiction and things for David Bowie. But he actually did have a big influence from the 18th century stuff like that, dandies and things like that as well. So he did actually, like I said, I was watching a quick little documentary, and they did mention that one of the guys who helped him develop his look was actually a mime. He's very flamboyant looking thing, and he was actually a mime who kind of taught him the ways, I guess.
Well, let's talk about Ziggy Stardust. I mean, the persona, it's a very creative, fleshed out persona. He created a rock album that's centered around this alter ego who is this androgynous alien, bisexual sort of alien messenger to the youth, and it sort of touches on the excesses of the rock scene, the music scene, but it also goes like the futility of it, or the way like society is sort of crumbling, and like if you listen to there's a clear message in each song, because the way that the album is made is like is receiving these messages to give to the people
Yeah.
on Earth.
Yeah.
And each song sort of touches on another path within his journey,
Yeah,
which
and
ends in his death at the end, his sacrifice in the end.
That's the funny thing on that. The actual album, the Ziggy Stardust album, Bowie wasn't that big then. That actually is one of the
It was actually bigger in the UK than it was in the US at the time it came out.
But in a sense that when Bowie did that album, he wasn't like a really big name. He was known, or he's heard of, or whatever,
amongst
certain people, but he wasn't really big. And that album actually got him.
That was the image many people were introduced, like in 1971, 72.
They got him world renowned in a sense. And I think that's funny that he took that, leap to do an album like that, which is actually very risky. Transcendent and risky. For him, it was very risky for him to do, but it was a very transcendent album. And it got it out there, and it gave him that whole thing, and that's why a lot of people will accredit Bowie to glam.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's that level of glam, and this wasn't the first instance of like glam rock within the UK. They had similar things around, but it was all around the same time. This is sort of like the one that really like hit the captures people's creativity.
Yeah,
and. It was the most prolific image when people think of it. And the thing is, though, about this glam, we're going to get into the hair metal glam in a second, but that partially influenced by this, but the rendition, I think, is bastardized. This is clearly on a level of artistic genius. And I'm using the term very, very, like selectively here, like when it comes to their work. It's really a clever album. It's a clever concept. There's something unique about it. I mean, Manson tried to do a similar thing with mechanical animals and like Omega, who's also like follows a similar journey as Ziggy Stardust. But when you think about it, it's really just Manson Fastman hate me. It's a ripoff of Ziggy Stardust. That's what it is. Like maybe he's paying homage to it, but I don't even think it goes. It's done as well as Ziggy Stardust was.
No, it's not.
But especially Ziggy Stardust, there was a little like he's borrowing influences, but the way he put it together is unique at the time. Like he would have this concept album, this alter ego character that he performed in, that he brought to life, and it captures people's imagination. It could have failed horribly, like people might not get it at all, and I'm sure some people didn't. But it really resonated with people just because I think they appreciated the daring of it.
Say hi, Bubba.
Our little mascot over there in the back. Is he here to tell us a little bit about glam? Because it's glamorous. But as I was saying, so like that aspect of glam, like where it has a message, it has a social commentary attached to it, and it's trying to take sort of like the things that aren't social norms and turn around. And that's what things like, like going back to the Danny's, going back to sort of being a gender bender trend, just defying norms that I can appreciate for what it is. Now, less traditional, but it's sort of that trend, that first wave, kind of started already by the end of the mid-70s, end of the 70s. It sort of was already out the door.
Well, let me just state that. I mean, as I did say, David Bowie is, known for starting the glam stuff, but he's not the only one. So I do have to mention, T-Rex and all those other bands of the 70s who did do glam rock, but it's nothing compared to what we're about to talk about, which is the 80s
I think
glam
in
stuff.
Some way, like I said, I can appreciate that original stuff.
In a sense, I want to go with what they were calling it in Britain, which is glitter rock.
Yeah, glitter rock.
So I want to call it not just glam, but I want to call it glitter rock. Why? Because it's very glittery. They use glitter, stuff like that.
There was a flamboyancy to it.
Yeah, so I want to,
which
I don't want
contrast to
I
what
kind of
was
want to
out
go with it, calling it the glitter rock, which is actually an offset of glam rock.
And before we get into the sort of LA hair metal offshoot, this glitter rock had a great influence of what would be mainstream punk.
Yeah.
It would come on. What would be, goth rock,
punk.
Yeah.
It's straight punk.
Yeah, it had a big influence. Like like the Sex Pistols were very greatly. Sid Vicious, particular, was very greatly influenced by David Bowie. Especially like the flamboyancy of it, the in your face attitude about it, the idea of I don't have to be as society tells me to be. I can craft my own image, whatever it may be. Because especially punk goes a darker route than like the glitter flamboyancy. Like sort of like it tries to, I guess, put a more traditionally masculine raw sound to it, but it clearly developed in its look from this. You can see, like, it's just defying, again, as I was saying, like defying social norms. This is a tradition that it borrowed from heavily. So that's why. Giving credit where it's due.
If you look at if you look it up on Wikipedia or any of that stuff, even Google, and it will tell you the line of what came from it, what derived from glitter rock or glam. And it was punk, it was psychedelic stuff, which is kind of weird, goth, all that stuff. So there's quite a bit that did come from it. Where people were like, well, how the hell did it do it? Or no, it came from its own thing, whatever. I have a whole list behind me of music genres that we can probably spend
I think we shared on that list in many episodes.
Yeah, I'm sure we can spend hours on it, kind of connecting it back to other genres, which goes back to a certain thing.
And we'll touch on that even when we get to the 80s, because even the
let me just throw something out there. I think David Bowie wasn't the first glam rocker, though.
No,
I think Mozart was.
That damn dandy.
He was a rock star, and he was a dandy.
He was. He lived fast. He died young, and he had a potty mouth.
But anyways,
so now let's giving credit where it's due, the sort of British, glitter rock influence and the influence it had and all that. The LA offshoot, and this is very much. It didn't end at LA. I'm sure there are other bands. I know there are other bands, but this is where it sort of went off. Bands like Motley Crue, LA Guns, these sort of bands which popped up, Whitesnake, and then eventually Def Leppard, and then eventually
the biggest one of all, Twisted Sister.
Yeah, Twisted fucking Sister. Bon Jovi. Originally Bon Jovi, hair metal band. Now hair metal didn't exist. The term didn't exist. It was coined in the early 90s to make fun of them because they became kind of a joke eventually. But we don't want to jump ahead. Let's get to the early stages of it. This offshoot of they took on sort of the glam metal, like a image. So glam metal itself, sort of an issue of the glitter rock, offshoot of the glitter rock.
Yeah,
and it was but this was more of an American phenomenon than the other one was more of a UK phenomenon.
As would you say, Ian
Scott called it glam, gay LA man. Scott from Anthrax.
Yeah.
Because heavy metal developed around the same time, like the 80s heavy metal music, and they were sort of, as far as mainstream, marketability-wise, glam rock hit the scenes in the 80s, and now we're specifically talking about this hair metal. So from now on, when we talk about it, that's what we mean. So no one give me any more comments about how I'm dissing David Bowie, because we just spent like 10 minutes talking about giving him his dues.
Transcendent he was.
So now I'm talking about the 1980s hair metal, glam metal rock phase.
The finger flying, overdone,
the
hair that's bigger than freaking
flocks of seagulls.
Everything else, flocks of seagulls. The people who intentionally try to make themselves look
and this is the
more like women than men. And here's the thing: they sucked. Sebastian Bach.
It was the Skid Row came like towards the end, of like late 80s. It was sort of like the last breath of a dying dinosaur. But they saw, I think, something like that, and they were like, whereas the other one kind of had sort of a image like I'm going to defy social norms. They had more of a, this is going to give me attention. So it seemed really attention craving. And it worked for a long time.
Yeah.
Now, part of the reason why it worked is because it came around the same time a lot of rock music started hitting the airwaves. MTV came around this time. Headbangers Ball was played so much of this glam metal music. And it popularized it to a point where it became marketable. And once it became marketable, every band coming up, even bands that didn't really have that sound, started adopting it. So they started putting that rock ballad into every damn thing where it's like
yeah.
it starts slow and then like
Yeah.
it hits it hits really strong.
Like one of the biggest bands out there, Anvil.
I don't even know what the fuck. I think most people put Animal still under heavy metal. Glam. Animal is
They are glam.
Animal is a never was.
Yeah, never was.
They gained
but
some.
yet, if you watch their documentary, apparently everyone listened to them. All the big bands really loved them.
I don't.
But,
Here's
no
the thing, and this is the
them.
same thing with Glam. Glam had a bit of a revival in the 2000s. I'm jumping ahead here, but Glam had a bit of a revival in 2000s because there comes a point when everybody looks back at something which was, even if it's crappy, and they look back simply because they can look back 15, 20 years. They're like, well, there may have been something to this. No, there wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
no, there wasn't.
it
wasn't.
Here's the thing.
Some things never become popular simply because they're not
Yeah,
good.
but here's the thing. We're talking about 80s hair metal glam. Thing is, there's still glam today.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we're not talking about like there's Manson, there's whatever. I mean, there's was it Bjorn? That guy, he's influenced by glam rock, so by T-Rex, but can't think of the guy's name right now.
He's influenced by the glitter rock original.
Yeah, he's influenced by that, but he's also influenced by kind of the hair metal
there's
stuff.
There's always going to be traces of it. But
there's a couple other bands that I can't even think of their names right now.
It's not as marketable now as it was.
That's what they do, is they try to do up the whole makeup and the whole thing, and they actually try to do the whole glam.
And look, and
I don't really think their music's
and Twisted
that good.
Sister is still touring. Van Halen is still maybe around. I mean, they're on and off all the time, but I'm sure there are traces of them all over the place. I don't know if the Nelsons are anywhere to be found, but
they're bald. I don't know.
They were bald then. Come on, they just calmed down forward.
No.
It was.
The Nelsons had that beautiful long blonde hair, very Swedish looking.
Very, very, very androgynous. As far as going back to that, the thing though is about glam. My main interest in glam isn't so much about the sound, the glam rock of the 80s. It's about how did this become a phenomenon. Yeah. Because it could just be something that dwells, like there's so many offshoots, genres of music that, like people who are into it, they know all about it, but it never hits the mainstream. And I think the reason why it did is because it somehow became marketable. It did capture people's attentions, and it was a way for people to, it was an easy way for people to be rebellious. And a lot of the stuff that they, like the lifestyle that they went into, like glam sort of was killed by two things. Number one, grunge music.
Nirvana.
So a better sounding genre came out and people finally woke up from it. And number two, its own self-destructive lifestyle that many other people engage in. And we had like a whole episode about the self-destructive lifestyle of the musicians. But glam really, the musicians in glam, even though they were kind of pop sounding, it was like pop rock, really. Yeah. Like if you listen back to now. And they were really safe sounding if you look back. But at the time, they were like really, as far as like Axis goes, they were like really, like there was no impulse control whatsoever. Yeah. So like you watch like, fall of Western civilization and like that, like they're all getting drunk like crazy. I mean, they really destroyed them. So they burnt themselves out. They burnt the candle on both ends.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think glam rockers or hair metal people really lived up to the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, more sex, drugs than rock and roll, because they didn't really rock. I mean, they did a lot of ballads.
They did formulaic. A lot of the songs are very formulaic.
Yeah,
they
very
all
formulaic.
Follow, even like the way they list their tracks, because they knew, this person, Motley Crue, whatever, became big with this. Bon Jovi went big with this formula. Yeah, I'm gonna go with this formula.
They followed along with the image, the cookie cutter thing. Half of it was not just the band, but the actual music industry saying, "Oh, well, this is the big thing. This is what's going. If you're not meeting this criteria, we don't want you. We're not even going to take our time to listen to you or whatever."
No.
And then they goes on from there. Once they have somewhat the look, then the music industry jumps in and gives you more of that look. And so, I mean, not just the band sucks, like their music and stuff, but some of the music industry as well doing it.
There is now you see though, like in the mid '80s, and I'm gonna say how it's the late '80s. You see the trend though changing a bit. Part of the reason is heavy metal and punk music on the side, which also sort of developed from like at least punk music from a similar origin.
Yeah.
Like they sort of started hitting, and they didn't. The bands that didn't change the sound.
Yeah.
And then you see sort of like the advertisement. start to fade away. So like what people's interests are. Now also part of the reason also hip hop starts coming around. So that's also becomes an alternative for people to listen to, as opposed to glam starts becoming more of a joke in its appearance. It becomes clownish in a way. Like you can't take this seriously. The stuff that they sing about, it's like it's not something that anyone in any way wants to be some sort of a decadent social outcast rebel who would in any way be concerned about. Because if you just look at the lyrics itself, it's like this sexual innuendo, cherry pie. Like, okay, who gives a fuck? And then and you see that shift, like even within what the glam artists that evolved in the look at that time. So we're not fans of Guns N' Roses, but they came out at their sound is different. It's a bit more raw. Now they did the rock, but it's a bit more raw though than the sounds like if you look like Bon Jovi and Motley Crue.
Guns N' Roses had the exact same sound as all the other crap in the 80s. It's just they didn't have as much glitter on them. That's really all it is. But I think they did the same thing. I think they did the hair metal thing. Look. Hell, they had Cousin It playing the guitar.
with a top hat.
With the top hat, yes.
But I think though it does signal some sort of at least it showed that there was a bit of it said like some of the glitter was off. I think it was like the glitter was falling off. And the reason why Guns N' Roses hit the strings because the taste was already changing. But then when like grunge hit, like in a late 80s, but really early 90s is when it hit really hard. It caught the music industry off guard because all these kooks who had been like, no, this is what the children want. Suddenly the kids are like, no, we want this. We want grunge, we want Nirvana, we want
the Soundgarden,
Soundgarden, Pearl Jam. We want this, and it just they were so caught off guard with that because suddenly it's like this new sound. Like no, we want this, and it's like hair metal. It wasn't like a steady fall from grace. It was a fall off a cliff. And all of a sudden these artists who have all they knew for a whole decade, all they did was this formula and they made them money. Suddenly they can't get gigged, can't get gigs. Suddenly the MTV isn't playing them any longer. Headbangers Ball is canceled in 1994, I believe. The record stations, the radio stations that played them, stopped playing them, or went out of business.
I think
the entire industry just flipped on its head when it came to them.
I think the best representation or like explanation, not really explanation, but I guess representation would be the correct one of a band, seeing how quick the change was Warrant. They were big with Geffen Records and stuff. The lead singer was talking about being in the studio talking with the executives or whatever in Geffen Records, stuff like that. And it was cherry pie posters up and stuff like that. A week later, when Nirvana hit, they come in and there's no one to be no Warrant photos or pictures or posters or anything anymore.
And it became a one-hit wonder.
It was all Nirvana and grunge music,
See, with someone
like that, and it was quick change that fast, and he was like, "What the hell?"
See, for someone
I think that's actually one of the best representations, just in that one, as someone who actually is part of that music industry, and not just fans or anyone just talking about it, showing how fast that their labels are like, "Okay, we don't, you're out.
I can't sell you," and the label, like, I can't sell you. Like nobody wants to listen to this. It suddenly becomes like this is. Again, because look, a span of a decade ended. Now suddenly, this isn't a young hip thing anymore. This is the grunge music is the it factor that we need. It's the rebellious factor. It's what all the teenagers want to listen to. They don't want to listen to these guys that are now in the 30s, 40s, and pushing up.
They're old school.
In still wearing eyeliner, hiding their wrinkles under foundation, like tying a ascot around their neck, with nail polish and being all effeminate. That's not interesting. It just isn't appealing to anybody.
I think it's funny though because those who have stuck around who wear hair metal,
the ones who still say,
was it the Scorpions?
The ones who weathered the storm,
whatever. they don't dress like that anymore. They still kind of have that mindset, and some of them do. You know,
I mean, Twisted Sister still does the full makeup, but that's the gig. They can't. That's their thing. That's the gimmick. They can't change that at all.
But I mean, like some of them. Was it Motley Crue or whatever it is?
Yeah, I mean they're
old as hell now. But if you look at them, they still kind of have that hair metal kind of thing going on. But they're very subdued of it. They're not as flamboyant as they used to be.
A lot of glam artists that are still around, they're trying to give the impression that they were hard rockers.
Yeah,
back in what they were doing, like Motley Crue, they're like, well, you know, the Tommy Lee is actually like this bad boy. If Tommy Lee was on platform shoes with a bunch of hairspray all over it, bad. I guess he was drunk and stoned through most of the 80s.
Yeah.
If he fucked anything that moved, I guess that makes him a bad boy in some way. But if you listen to the songs Motley Crue put out, it's very like timid shit.
Yeah.
Like do not reference me some song. They're like, you know, they're talking about drugs and alcohol in the song. Oh please, I can listen. Here's the rock ballad that they were doing about loving somebody and having their heart broken.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't fuck with me on that.
All of them have like we said earlier.
But the image they want now is they want to be in the genre we would a heavy metal. Because I even remember there was that VH1 like 100 greatest heavy metal songs. At least 40% of it that they had on, it was hosted by Sebastian Bach.
Yeah.
From Skid Row.
Yeah.
But again, with Warrant, like came towards the end, like we're gonna do the same thing, we're gonna make it big, and then like within a year or two, you're forgotten.
Yeah.
Like 1989, 1999, it's gonna be huge. 1991,
they're gone. Yeah.
It's like, but like at least like. Out of the 100 songs, at least 40 of them that had something with his 80s. And also, I'm like, they're trying to. I feel like they're trying to rewrite their history.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
And
I mean, that's the thing is a lot of bands and a lot of people will say, oh well, you know, I listened to these bands in the 80s and they influenced me to get into music, and you know, a lot of that stuff. And I think it's not that it actually was influenced by it. It's more like it was the only thing there. It's your only choices. I mean, other than like 70s, 60s rock, which I mean, it was around, but it wasn't. I'm from the 80s. I don't remember hearing a lot of 70s, 60s rock unless I went and searched for it. You know, it wasn't on MTV. It wasn't any of that stuff. It wasn't played on the radio and any of that stuff.
No, this was presented as youth. Rebellious youth culture. So the youth in like from 81 till 87 was like, I guess this is rebellious teenage angst.
But I mean, that's the thing is I actually remember as a child not liking any music that was on there. Every once in a while something would come up that I would be like, oh, hey, I can put up with this one. Like some, you know, I forgot some songs from like Aerosmith or something, which I'm not a big fan of Aerosmith, but I do appreciate some of their stuff.
Let's talk about Aerosmith.
Because they have done quite a bit.
Aerosmith was around in the 70s. They were more of what you would put in like, I guess, legit rock group. Okay. Then they sort of went into in the 80s. They did do like because this is what was popular, and they wanted to keep it. And this is what a lot of bands did. They took on a glam thing. Alice Cooper did the same thing. Now Alice Cooper was a shock rocker, and I guess he was also around in the 70s, and he sort of had like, I guess you would say he had a bit of the original glitter rock. He was around when they were around. At least the tail end of it.
He was a glitter rocker,
but in the 80s he went more. Rock. He went more in like as far as similarity goes with the others. Now he did his own little twist to it, but there was a point in the 80s where because they still want to get airtime, they still want to get played. A lot of them revisited. They reinvented themselves. But then as soon as that died out in the 90s,
they stopped. Like, but I mean, you can say the same thing for like Ozzy, you know. Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, stuff like that. It really did a lot of ballads and stuff. In the 80s.
No, he went full glam in the 80s.
Yeah, he was all ballad stuff. I mean, I don't think he really went with like glitter and stuff, but he did have the big hair. He did have the kind of stuff.
If you listen to Ozzy,
Mama, I'm coming home.
If you look at the Ozzy in the mid 80s, from like 83 to 88, it was.
And he still has the moniker of the Prince of Darkness or whatever. You know, biting bats' heads off and stuff. But
he thought it was fake, though.
Yeah, he did that by accident.
He thought it was a fake.
He ran with it. I mean, he was banished from like San Antonio for 10 years for pissing on the Alamo. You know, he's a bad boy. It's more. Most of it was like, oh, he had to. You know, he had to go. He didn't know where to go. He didn't know what the hell the Alamo was. He's not freaking from here. He's like, oh, it's a building. Okay, let me piss. You know, it was like, oh no, he knew what he was doing. No, he's admitted. No, it was a building.
Again, it's the reinvention thing. Everybody looks back and tries to play themselves off as much more important than what they did. Is like much more intent behind what they did than there actually was.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, Ozzy, who has this moniker of being a really hard rocker, he's a Prince of Darkness and blah. He's never really that
his music was never hard. Like it's not hard. Not like if you listen to like some death metal.
Yeah,
it's like it's not anywhere near that.
It was nowhere near that. But like going back to what I was saying, is like in the 80s, I really, didn't have any music there that was like I really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. I mean, Prince came on, and I was like, "Yay, Prince!"
No, Prince had some glam influence too.
Prince had glam influence,
but he went where the money was.
We've mentioned that though, how much Prince
glitter,
has done.
How much
he went from the 70s kind of disco thing to the glitter rock to the whole 80s. I don't really consider him in the 80s doing.
He put an R&B twist.
Yeah, I don't really consider him doing really I think glam it was more in the 80s, but he did. Well, he's always had that look. I mean, come on, high heels and freaking purple. It's hard to pull that off and not be glam. But either way, I mean, it's
better with Andy.
Yeah, he did his own thing in the 80s. I mean, everyone was doing the glam rock. He was doing stuff. He was putting out. He was doing like Purple Rain. He was doing Graffiti Bridge, that came out in the 90s and stuff. But I mean, he did a lot of different things, and that's why I actually respect Prince in that sense, and say that he did influence a lot of people on all genres from like the 60s, 70s. It goes
back to what I was saying. A lot of bands, if you're going to get airtime, you have to sort of adapt to the times to some extent. So a lot of people, they're like, well, this is big now. Let me try this. Like a lot of bands in the 80s, a lot of punk bands. Blondie put a rap tune in one of her songs. It was the first rap song to hit number one in the US, ironically, like back like 81 or so. Yeah. Like, why? Because, it was this hot new thing that was coming out, up and coming. A lot of people didn't hear it. Let me put it in there. Yeah. Like, let me put it on. So anytime, so glam was huge during this time. Yeah. It's, if you want to be played on MTV, guaranteed to be played on MTV. It's not the only thing they play, but guaranteed to be played on Headbangers Ball. You're gonna do a glam tune.
Yeah, I mean, that's ballads, you're gonna do all that stuff.
It's guaranteed that they're gonna play you because that's the thing that's being marketed. Now, whether or not the people you're selling it to are actually really like enjoying it, because obviously, as soon as an alternative came up,
they changed. Yeah.
They changed, and we mentioned grunge, but I also mentioned like on the side, punk was developing, like its own little thing. Hip hop was coming up, like
not that punk wasn't around in the 80s. I mean, you had Black Flag, and you had Sex Pistols are still kind of doing, not really around.
Well, the Sex Pistols weren't around.
Yeah, they weren't really around, but you could hear them playing.
The influences that came out from
stuff. I think Rancid was doing some stuff like I mean, they're bigger in the 90s.
Yeah, Black Flag was there too.
There's a big one. Stuff like that. But there was some punk in there. There was there
was punk there the whole time.
A lot of underground that weren't the bigger
stuff. A lot of
stuff.
this stuff developed. Well, like glam is so like pivoting upwards. All these things are there. Yeah, like they're developing in these genres. Yeah. However, because this is what's getting airplay. This is what's getting the airplay. Yeah. They're getting their core following, the fan base. Then they're developing slowly but surely. So hip hop, punk music, heavy metal, like all these things are coming up. As soon as these guys are sort of pushed off, and a lot of times, grudge gets the thing where it just kind of kicked it off
in there.
All of a sudden, all these alternative people like,
it kind of popped out.
This stuff is so much better. Let me go to that. And they went to it almost, like I said, they went to it, not overnight, even almost, they went to it overnight. Yeah. Like, as soon as it came, because they were, this gimmick that they had, it looked really, like looking back on it, it's phony. And the one thing we say when it comes to people who are like hardcore into music genres, like people who identify with musical genres and base identity on it. Yeah. Talking about the punks, talking about the goths, talking about the metalheads, talking about the, like people who are big into hip hop. People who are, who put their entire look based on that. The one thing they don't like is being inauthentic. It doesn't really matter what your look is. But if it is not sincere, and with a lot of these people who were in glam, their look was a strictly marketable appearance, and it showed. That's the thing. Like a lot of the Sex Pistols were strictly marketable, but it wasn't that identifiable for people when it was first coming up. We know now because we know now that the guy that was selling the fucking retail store pretty much put that look together. However, like when you look at him, you're like, no, this is real. Yeah. When you look at glam, at first you're like, okay, this is like people who are really like going against like what the norm is. But the longer it went on, the more you're like, okay, this is the formula. They're just plugging in the equations, and you're getting
that's the thing is that they, hair metal and glam stuff came, like we're stating, they pulled from, first of all, like Bowie and T-Rex and totally forgot his name right now, but bunch of other guys, bunch of 70s stuff.
70s
they kind
British
of like
musicians,
British musicians, stuff like that. They kind of saw it and they're like, oh, let's try this.
I mean, Iggy Pop was around here too.
He
was heavily influenced by David Bowie.
Yeah, he was actually kind of punk.
Well, that's right. He was like in his transition phase, but he saw what David Bowie was doing, and he kind of liked the look at the glitter rock look. So he
but I mean, a lot of the '80s people, they kind of saw that and they'd go with it, and then they try to, up and a little more and do the really feminine looking stuff or whatever. So they took the glitter rock and put it on steroids in a sense, but all their music was crap either way. They really got this look going. It was kind of like when Lady Gaga came around. Her whole thing was, everybody went after it, and now it's kind of like, different. It's Lady Gaga, whatever. It's what she does. Which is
she went too over the top.
Yeah, which is funny because Lady Gaga, who tried to go over the top, was just copying Madonna, who tried to go over the top. So who was in the glitter rock area as well, but she wasn't glitter rock because she was, what the hell was she? Pop. She was just a pop.
Madonna?
Madonna. She was just pop, straight pop.
Yeah.
But she did all that material girl and that out, really out there trying to get your image.
It was
So that's the one thing. I think
is what it was.
I think the one thing in the whole '80s, no matter how you sounded, as long as you were willing to whore yourself out to an image, you're gonna make it. Because their music sucked.
But that's why
almost everything out in the '80s sucked. Other than a couple bands I mentioned like Prince and Aerosmith, a lot of their stuff out. But a couple other bands which I can't really tell because they had like one or two hits that I was like, okay.
When this alternative hit, all the music that became popular in the 90s, what would become the core of the alternative scene, broad alternative is a very much an umbrella term, but all the stuff that fits in it. That sound was there in the 80s, at least towards the late 80s.
Yeah.
And what it did was because it didn't sell out.
Yeah.
And so the people who, gravitated to it, the people who made the fan base that developed under it, they felt like this was something authentic, something that they could really get behind. As opposed to the crap that MTV is sort of shoving down the throat. Like, oh, look at Van Halen. Oh, and David Bellies. Don't you young people love Van Halen? No, we don't fucking love it. Fuck Van Halen. First of all, they're not like, what the fuck did Van Halen ever do to deserve that reputation?
I mean, but that's the thing is, I mean, if you think about it, as glam rock was coming to a close. And we did mention Nirvana and stuff like that, who kind of overnight would hit. Nirvana's first album was out in '89. They weren't known really big until '91.
In Seattle,
Seattle, they were kind of like up and comers, and people were like, "Oh, it's Nirvana, the grunge scene, stuff like that."
And the Pixies were around.
The Pixies and all that. But I mean, you weren't really hearing them and stuff. And then for those who were actually following the underground scene, they knew about Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Pixies, Melvins, all that. They really were into that. They were kind of, hairband stuff, stupid, and whatever. But if you weren't around that culture, you weren't really hearing it. So all you were hearing was everything from MTV, everything they're shoving down your throat. Every once in a while, you'd get lucky and hear something from someone else, and it was like, oh, cool. That's the only time I will admit that I was happy to see Metallica. Only time I will admit it, because they were different. I couldn't stand them. I hate Metallica. I've hated them since I first saw them.
You've only mentioned it in every single episode somehow.
But It's like I seriously, I
This
hate
is
them.
episode
I don't
30,
think
you mentioned it in every
I don't
single
think at one point I've ever liked them. But I will admit, watching MTV at the time and music and stuff, I was happy to see Michael Jackson, Prince, and Metallica. Only because it's not the hair metal that there's out there. It's just all this. Ugh, I hated it. And then Weird Al.
Weird Al.
Every once in a while, but he was popping out more 90s than 80s. But
he was there in the 80s. I mean,
he was there
like a surgeon.
But like I said, it's the only time I will admit that I was happy to see or hear Metallica. And it got to the point where they started going them so often that I was like, oh, please stop this now. And then Nirvana came out. I was like, yay, finally.
And the reason why grunge sort of gets always the billing as this genre to put the nail in the coffin for glam is because, I said all these alternatives came out that people finally could gravitate to, that it got a chance to be heard more often, got more airplay, got an audience. Grunge was so much the inverse of glam. Yeah. So just a stark contrast. It was dirty. It went back. So it combined sort of like the raw punk sound with the sort of like a heavier rock sound. So as far as it didn't do the flamboyant showmanship that glam started doing. It didn't it didn't do the long ballad freaking intros that would go on forever with and then the strong finish. It sort of started out
like Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, like Guns N' Roses. That's why they followed that formula like crazy. It wasn't formulaic the way the other ones. It was just this is a song that would put whatever feedback would be. They would play the feedback on the guitar.
The thing is, it went from songs that were 8 to 10 minute long to songs that were to 3 minutes.
Yeah,
it was
and you could
done, new song,
and
it was
you could hear the feedback coming back.
Yeah,
from
that's the thing
guitars.
is they kind of brought back the 70s. Nasty, grungy, the dirty sound, it's just pure distortion, it wasn't clean and beautiful, and all the 80s.
It wasn't sterilized.
They brought that back with the punk scene, with all that, and that's kind of what the grunge did. It was just kind of it's dirty, it's grunge.
It didn't look like a giant market produced value.
I mean, that's the whole thing. It went from 8 to 10 minute songs with grandiose theatrics and stuff to here's our song, starts, ends by in your face, we're out of here. Nothing else. No, okay, we're gonna do this grand opening with the rain falling,
t-shirt, torn up jeans,
and wedding happening and the running from the altar, or the bed, blah blah blah, and some sand dude, whatever, freaking flashy lights and all this junk. It was
its thorns.
Yeah, it was like Nirvana's first thing. Yeah, they had kind of a theatrics, and not really theatrics. It was dirty. You had Nirvana, your cheerleaders. They played. When they left, it was it.
The thing that turned a lot of you want to go into sound like Metallica.
Yeah.
When the Black Album came out and they cleaned it up more, they lost fans because they wanted the dirtiest sound that Metallica had at the beginning, in the early 80s, and Master of Puppets, things like that. Although I believe those songs go on for fucking year, but not my appeal, it's theirs. But when they start doing more of a produced version, like the Black Album and stuff that came out, they lost a lot of metalheads because they said, no, this is too much like what's being played right now.
The funny thing is, I've heard people say that their best album was the Black Album, which is actually the self-titled Metallica album.
Yeah.
But they also say, well, Master of Puppets is the best one. But, they really did it good and cleaned it up in the Black Album. And it's like, well, make up your damn mind.
It depends who you say. If you ask, in retrospect, if you're just going by off of what sounds cleaner.
Yeah.
All the Black Album and afterwards. It sounds cleaner because number one, they have more money. Number two, they have a whole record company behind them and all that. The stuff before that sounds much more unfiltered.
Yeah.
But if you ask die-hard metal fans,
they
will tell you the other stuff because they want that sound. That's the sound that they crave. If you listen to the indie metal bands now, they still sound like that. Sometimes it's not. If your ears are in tune to it, it's not bearable to be listened to.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like it's screeching noise in your
Yeah.
No offense, it's just, but that's the appeal that it has for them because they're like,
it's
they
the
want to
thing.
feel like like the agents are getting a little bit assaulted.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the whole thing with the the more produced whatever. That's the funny thing is with glam rock, it was overproduced. Everything was overproduced. The videos, the music, the personalities. The hairstyle,
and that's part
everything.
of the downfall. The lifestyles, like the self-destructive lifestyle, they sort of fed into this like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. They went like, no, this is the way I gotta act. The kids gotta think I'm cool, so you know what? I'm gonna be drunk all the time. I'm gonna be wasted all the time.
Yeah,
and that's what's gonna make me cool. I hope my eyeliner doesn't smear though when I'm performing. And then people, it's sort of like actually, you know what? I'll do a comparison now. There's like even pre this stuff, Elvis, 50s. So it's all like Jailhouse Rock, So like masculinity, like image of it. But then if you look at him like towards the end of his life, and he became kind of a obese, a bit of a parody of himself. He was like all glittered makeup with like the tassels and all like flamboyant colors. Nowadays people say no, he's great, but at time his popularity actually was going down. And you can see like his appearance, like he's trying too hard, and that kind of like that's what happens when a genre starts to age, just like when a musician starts to age. They're trying to hold on to this youthful look that helped them 10 years ago, but the tides have turned and they just can't go with it. And even the bands that went with some of them tried to go grunge. Yeah, a couple of these like Warren tried to actually go grunge. Yeah, like if you listen, there's like I forgot what it was, 95, 96 the album that they released afterwards. It's like they try to do it more with grunge, but nobody's buying it. They're not buying it as in they're physically not buying it, but they're not buying it as in it's not believable. Yeah, like they don't, because they're the cherry pie guys. Yeah, they are. But I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, there were certain bands that made it out of the 80s and they did all right. Not certain people. They did all right because like Aerosmith, they were around. They adjusted back in the 90s. Nowadays they're not as big. Not a lot of people listen to them. Whatever. Because they're older and they did break up and whatever, so forth. Prince was going strong, although people would say no, but he was going strong until he died. Bowie was going pretty strong until he died. Yeah. Lemmy. He was a slack off. Lemmy was big with he's a god amongst the people.
Yes, he is. But I mean, he was living off, he wasn't really doing much. I mean, Motorhead, they would do stuff. But they were also older.
He also had prostate cancer.
Yeah, he was older and he also had cancer and he can't do a lot of stuff. No disrespect to Lemmy.
You gotta say when to say when.
But he did know. I was like, I'm not gonna keep going. I'm just gonna kind of be in Foo Fighter videos and kind of just relax.
You're still gonna be around because a lot of times when you get to that point, because he had like legendary status at this point, like he'll make appearances, but what is he? He has nothing to prove. Yeah. But a lot of times with these glam artists, nobody respected them for their musicianship. Yeah, and they were a product that was being sold, and the product wasn't an hot item anymore.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I mean, even in the 80s, Michael Jackson, who glam hair metal type things, he wasn't really that. I mean, he was Michael Jackson.
He was he was a king of pop.
He was king of pop. That's what he did.
Although rhythm and blues was really also
but he did do the whole thing, and his big hit was in the 80s. Thriller. That was his big hit. There's ones like hair bands here and there, and here he is.
People, when something else hit, that's a funny thing about like the whole glam metal thing. When people had other alternatives, they went to them. Yeah. Like even before grunge came around, it's just in the rock genre. Like pop genre, you had many alternatives. Oh yeah. Madonna was there, Michael Jackson was there. Prince occasionally would also travel into pop music. This is pop rock. Like is pop rock, what we put it as now. But within the rock, like what's being given airtime in the rock scene, glam was really what was being shoved down people's throats. Oh yeah. Like the people who weren't like in the know. In the underground music scenes and things like that. So that's why this is, I'm like, well, I guess this is it. Then suddenly, oh wait, MTV is playing different stuff. I'm gonna pay attention. Headbangers Ball playing the shit that I actually didn't even like. It's been playing for like 10 years. Actually, I stopped liking like 4 years ago. I'm just gonna turn it off. Wait, they got an unplugged. of Nirvana that they show that they're gonna show. Okay, you know what? I'll tune into that.
Yeah.
And the market really does sometimes self-regulate in this way.
Yeah,
I hate to sound like a libertarian, but sometimes it does.
Yeah.
Now it took like, damn it, 12 years to get to that point.
That's the thing.
And then it went back
did take
with like
a
the
while.
90s pop scene because you got and it's in cycles. 80s hair metal is the marketable shtick gimmick genre. 90s pop boy bands and girl
grunge.
bands are the marketable shtick.
Yeah.
Formulaic genre, and even there will always be one thing that's popular that's clearly it's just popular because somebody in some executive studio said this is what we're going to really heavily advertise.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's just how it is. It just depends when your product is no longer that item that's interesting. It sucks to be you, Skid Row.
Yeah.
It's just.
But I mean, yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, I don't know. The whole glam thing. I think if you listen to the 70s glam or glitter rock, as we said, we should call it, they're actually good bands. I mean, they're good
sound.
music.
It's unique. It's transcendent.
It's actually rock music, and it just has an image. That's all it is. It's good music. You know, a lot of it is really good music, stuff like that. But there was something in the image. It's David Bowie, as he's been said, you know, to do. Even, you know, everyone who's known him said he changes his freaking image every 5 minutes. Something new, something, you know, not just his image, but his, you know, style of music, things like that. He was all over the place. He's an enigma. And so, yeah, with the Ziggy Stardust thing, it was one thing that he did. He actually did a whole, you know, background to it, and he came with the character, and, you know, did all this, whatever. And you listen to his older or his newer stuff from, you know, 70s, and then, you know, his from then on until he died. Everything is different. But he has a lot of different sounds.
And that's the difference between someone like David Bowie and all these glam artists.
Yeah,
he did this concept. He did this interesting, new, original album with Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah,
but once he did it, he's like, okay, I'm going to transform again
and do something else.
It wasn't a shtick with him. It was really something like, you know, I have this great idea. I'm going to put it out there. You know, like, it's popular, great. Oh, yeah, great. You know what? I have this other great. Like, he was creative enough. That's why I say, like, there's a artistic genius to him.
Yeah.
Because he knew what he was doing. These guys are like, oh, this other dude's doing songs like this, and they have hair like that. And they're putting on makeup. Yeah. And they're putting on women's clothing. I'm going to do that. That's the thing, and that's going to make me rich.
Going back to, you know, 70s and, you know, glam rock, glitter rock stuff, they had that mindset as well. And it is, oh, let's see who can be more flamboyant. Let's see who can be more out there. Mm-hmm. Their music style was still the same in a sense. It was still rock music. It was still decent music and stuff like that. But they were getting a lot more flamboyant. They would do more makeup. They would do more glitter, bigger hair, you know, more just nonsense on their face and things like that, and acts and all that stuff. But still, their music was still, you know, decent music, good music. Bowie, like you're saying, did his one thing, and it was like, okay, moving on. And it's funny because the way he did it, people were trying to keep up with him.
And that's what I was.
It was like, oh wait, no, Bowie's doing. Let me try this. Let me do that. Wait, what's he doing next? And he's just like, I'm done that. Let's move on.
And that's what I always put him ahead of the time, especially in that, because he wasn't trying to keep up with any trends, so he created his own trends.
Yeah, he just created his own thing.
He didn't give a shit whether Ziggy Stardust was something that was going to be popular.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure he thought it was going to be like, oh, people would like this. Why else would you do it? But he wasn't like, what's the market say at the moment? Are people into like androgynous bisexual alien prophets? Is that going to be something that people are going to... Like that didn't like kind of like if he asked that to a market executive from any record label, they would have just looked at him like, what the hell are you talking about, David? But he's like, nah, this is what we're gonna do, and this is where I'm gonna go. And then when it was done, I was like, oh, cool, it's popular. You know what? I have this other idea.
That I want to get into,
and let's change it. Like, I'm not paying attention to what is happening. I'm creating.
He's one of them that I think is hilarious because you look at him depending on which genre or what year, I guess. He was either very flamboyant, you know, overly dressed, Ziggy Stardust, or he was in a freaking turtleneck singing Christmas songs. Very clean cut, very, you know, boyish.
Well, you look at it,
and you're like, what the hell? And he's singing Drummer Boy. And you're like, what the hell happened here? That's David Bowie.
A lot of these bands once the glam bands, they try to do a similar thing like SoB, they try changing their sound. They try to go times like Rowan tried to go grunge. It didn't work. Bon Jovi, as sort of a band, they did sort of a country rock thing for a little,
rockabilly kind of,
like that. That's sort of like where they went because they thought it was like, well, you know what, this shtick is just dead. I'm gonna go into something different, and I think they've had like moderate success. Going off of that. Motley Crue tried going a harder rock sound. Or legit rock sound, I guess. Now, some people claim the people who came to it after that. They claim that the Motley Crue was always, of course, legit rock, but I'm just not buying it.
No.
I've heard their crap in the early '80s. Like
Van Halen,
I'm not.
all them.
I'm just not buying you. I'm not buying what you're selling.
Yeah.
So and things like Glam, like I said, it's cyclical. Things like Glam will pop up all the time, and it will be sold to you, and then people will either. It will sell and it will be popular, but then those things cannot last. They peak and then they fall.
Yeah.
Like very few things survive the test of time in this business.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff that does, you'll remember. But then, of course, some douchebag hipster is going to go back and in the retro style be like, this is the greatest thing ever done.
That's the funny thing is you have your people who are trying to, your hipsters and douchebags or whatever, who try to go back and say, oh, well, no, this is, vinyl, it's the best, blah, 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 whatever, so on and so forth.
We're going to have an episode of vinyl.
We have vinyl freaking right there. It's dirty right now because we haven't played it in a while. But, yes, it has its nostalgic feel. It has its own little sound. It's good. But modern music sounds better. Because it has been manufactured digitally to sound better.
You know what? I want to
things like that. So and it's funny because you'll have those people who argue it's like analog. As an audio engineer, analog actually has a whole different feel, a whole different sound
than digital.
I would rather do digital because it's a hell of a lot easier to do than I would do analog.
I want to hold off on that conversation because I want to have a whole episode on. I want to have a whole episode on the vinyl, the digital and analog thing, or possibly next time when we come back. But so far, yes. Glitter rock, cool. Glam rock, glam metal, sucks.
Yes, it does.
All right. Catch you guys next time.
How do you guys see it?
Bye.